Welcome everyone. In this video we are going to look at how to replace the control handle on a central vac. There's more to it than meets the eye. Hi everybody, I'm Mark. Welcome to the Average Me channel. In this video we are going to look at how to replace a handle on a central vac. This is a Beam brand, but they're all relatively the same. There's more to this handle than meets the eye because there is an electrical harness in here. This has to control and communicate all the way down to the other end where it gets its power and to the end of the wand when it turns the vacuum on and off. So there's some stuff going on inside here that we will see in just a minute. Now I have my new handle here, and you'll see that this doesn't have a switch, and when I open this up in just a moment you'll see it doesn't have any insides to it. And if this was a regular vacuum and that's all it was air passing through, you wouldn't need all those things, maybe an on-off switch, but there's a little more to it. So first thing I'm going to do is show you the insides of this, and then I'll talk about why I'm replacing it. So as we open this up, you'll see it's just an empty container here. We have this hose section here, and we have the other side. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This is where I was having problems. You'll see there's a little ridge here. Right here is a ridge, and that clamps between those two housing units, and that was slipping on mine. And this was also really loose, and I'll show you what that is on my other unit. So this little gadget right here, if we move it, you can see there is an open vent hole, and this allows you to control how much vacuum is going into that, but mine was loose and it slipped around. The other thing that happened with mine is this hole. It's probably not going to happen now that I'm on my camera. There we go. That whole thing would come off when I would try to separate the wand, and that's because I assume there is either a screw that it has stripped out the hole in here, or some of the plastic broke. So we're going to fix it. Now this cost about $45 online, just the handle, but what's even more expensive is the electrical harness. That harness is about $65, so the harness costs more than the handle. So we want to be really careful when we open this up that we don't hurt any of those electronics. I do have my magnet, my screw magnet. Anyone that's seen me work on things knows that I like a screw magnet. The reason I like this is I don't want the screws falling all over the place. I put them in a little tray or a bucket and I'll spill that. If this drops on the floor, all the screws stay with it. So I always use this, and I'll be using it today. Now this is a magnetic screwdriver, but sometimes that's not even enough to pull these screws out. So sometimes I like to use a magnet. By the way, I got this magnet out of a microwave oven. There's a couple of magnets like this in microwave ovens. They're really nice, strong magnets. Now we can open this up, and we have to be careful. Like I said, I don't want that wiring harness to be damaged. This is the old one. I'm just going to set that aside. And you can see what we have here. This is what connects to the wiring. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 contacts that go all the way around that, and this is what I have new, so I can discard this. So you can see our wiring harness here. This is the switch right there. This is where it gets its power. That's right on the end, and this is where it makes contact with those 4 contacts I just showed you. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that out very carefully and transfer it to the new handle. Okay, so the old handle, transfer that to the new. I just want to be careful that everything is going in the right spot. And right around here we have to be careful. That's where the screws are going to go in. Like I said, this is $65 or $70 I'm playing with here, so I don't want to damage that. And there we go. And I found our problem. Right here, toward the end, there is part of that plastic is completely snapped off, and that's where the screw would have went in. And since that was broken, it was just separating, and that's why the whole thing was not being held together. And this was driving me nuts for probably the past year. I kept snapping it back in, it would pull out. So it was time for a new one. So you can see these two, how high they are. And that one is the one that snapped off right there. Putting this back together is a pretty simple matter, but make sure that the other end of this hose is not plugged into the wall, because there will be 110 volts of electricity going through this, and you don't want to make contact with this and get a jolt. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that this is seated. There is a gasket in there, a rubber gasket. So take that off and make that connection. And just make sure that's seated really nice and tightly. This is going to end up fitting in there, and you'll see there's a notch right there. There's a notch right there, and that's to make sure that this is aligned properly with the inside of the handle. So make sure when you put that in, that notch is seated. So when I put this in, I want to make sure that that is near the top, because that's where I want my release button. And you can feel that. Now it can't turn. If that was off, I'd be able to spin it around until it snaps in place. And now all I have to do is put this in between the housing and make sure I don't disrupt the electrical harness. Okay, so now the screw holes here are clear. Clear there and all around there. This is seated, and that's nice and tight, covering up that opening there. That's the way I want it. And let's make sure that switch is where it's supposed to be. And we'll put the other half on top. Now before I screw this together, the one thing I want to make sure that's tight and in place is that switch. Because if that switch is not right, it's going to be loose. It looks like it's in there nice and tight and seated now. So I'm going to hold it all nice and tightly while I screw the whole thing back together. The first one I'm going to put in is going to be up there near the switch, because I don't want the switch to snap out of there. Then the next one I'm going to put is down here where I was having my issues. Really good going in there. I can feel that the screw is grabbing. Be careful, that's just plastic, so don't clamp it down too tight or you could strip it and I'll have the same problem I started with. So right now it's held together. I'm going to go to this opposite end over here, and then we'll probably be in pretty good shape to put the rest of the screws in. So I just worked my way around the whole thing to make sure they're nice and tight and snug, but I'm not going to put Gorilla Power behind it and strip that thing out. Let's see. All right, that is nice and tight, not wiggling at all. That's staying in alignment. Let's see if the door works. Look at that. That door is opening and closing. Well, the real test is to plug it in and see if I have power and if this controls the wand. Well, I don't think I blew a fuse when I plugged it in, so that's a good sign. Listen to that. Okay, so we now know that it's turning on the vacuum, but will this activate the wand? I'll go and plug that in. I'll be right back. Would it be terrible if after all that this didn't work? Let's see. I don't know if you can hear it, but it worked. So pushing this one way is supposed to turn on the brushes. Turning it the other way should just turn on the vacuum. So there you go. And now, boy, this is easier to push in and out too. This is a pretty easy job that anybody can do. There's no reason to have to take your unit down to a repair shop. Like I said, for about 45 bucks you can buy the handle. Just be careful of that wiring harness and I'm sure you'll do a great job. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking my face in the corner. Not only can you see other how-to videos, but I take a lot of fun trips on this channel and you can join me on those as well. So be sure to ring that bell icon up above. That way you'll know when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark and this is the Average Me channel.